Hello, everybody, and welcome to Before the Green. We are your hosts, Evan, Donnie, Corey. Obviously, this is a bit of a unique weekend. A lot of you may be here for the first time simply to watch the Ben Rhodes portion of the interview. But we are going to keep our format, our usual format. We are going to discuss last week's race. Then we're going to do our caution break segment, which is where you'll find Ben. So if you want to skip forward to that, you are welcome to. But we hope you'll stick around. And then after that, we'll preview the upcoming week and make our picks for Michigan. So that's kind of where we're at. Corey's a little on the tired side, just coming back from a vacation with the family. I'm sure, well, the in-laws, so not even really the family, I guess, per
I feel
se.
like this is my first podcast too.
Why?
Man, it's been like 3 weeks, 4
I know.
weeks.
I lost all my
I'm
hair.
amazed you gave us that much time off.
I get an awful bad rap.
We're just joking with you, Caillou. You're fine.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a glare here. You should put a hat on or
I
something.
feel like we made those exact same jokes the last time I shaved my head. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
You're
gold
just a
then.
kid who's 4 who grew up a whole lot more.
yeah. Well, listen, we've got a lot of racing to talk about. You want to just get into the racing?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Corey,
Sure.
you're up, bud.
Well, I guess we can talk briefly about Korey LaJoie and the fact that during the Olympic break, he lost his ride for next year as he and Spire are going their separate ways. With it seeming more and more like Spire is the one making that decision, do we see LaJoie in the Cup Series in 2025? If not, where does he land?
Oh, man, I don't see him in Cup.
I don't see him there.
I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but I mean, he's been in headlines for more wrong reasons than anything good that he's done. He's got like 4 top 4s. Like, there's a lot of promising talent in the pipeline. And I mean, he doesn't even come off as a great teammate. He's kind of said some things in the past there even. So I think Spire's making the right decision, and I don't know where he lands.
I mean, it's probably some local demolition derby or something that he can jump onto.
Yeah.
Future track champion. Yeah,
man.
I think the pennies have fallen. I don't think they're stacked anymore.
We're stacking them.
Not to throw too much shade, but I doubt we see him in the Cup Series. Definitely not in a more competitive ride. So, I don't know if there's a seat at Rick Ware or something like that, maybe, but I don't see him progressing forward at this point. You never know. Maybe he ends up in one of those Haas cars or something like that. But I think, like Donnie said, there's so much talent in the pipeline coming up. I don't think you give a top tier Xfinity ride to a guy like that, right? So maybe he's got to pull a John Hunter Nemechek and go back to the Truck Series, work his way back up, and maybe improve his stock a little bit. But I don't think it's a great picture for Korey LaJoie.
Yeah, I don't see him full time anywhere next season for sure.
No, probably not.
No, the seat's just not there. I don't think. All right. Well, no arguments there, so we're off to a good start. So NASCAR once again tries to run a race on 2 different dry tire compounds in an effort to improve short track racing on the Cup level. The 2 tires were a harder compound in yellow that had less grip but would last longer, and a softer compound in red that had significantly more grip but would wear out significantly faster, and then have less speed on the mid-long run. What do you guys think of the experiment, and did it improve the racing in your opinions? Evan, what do you think?
I don't know that it necessarily improved the racing from I think there's still a flaw in the system when you have to run different rubber compounds to make the race interesting. I think it was more entertaining, especially for a race that until 2 to go basically went green except for stage breaks, right? There was always something to talk about. There was always some strategy being worked on. I think Daniel Suarez really opened the floodgates on that when that team took their first set of reds early. And then, I think that was definitely beneficial, but I don't know that it was the end all be all, but I thought the race was a very good race. And for a race, like I said, that went pretty much green, that's not a bad thing. And I think the tires did have a part in that for sure.
Donnie?
Yeah, I mean, you know how our package has been a mess at short track, and it's just been brutal to watch. So, I mean, anything they can do to make it more entertaining, I'm on board for. Like, does this put it where short track needs to be? Like, no, like absolutely not. But it's a step in the right direction. So, I mean, it was fun watching the strategy play out. It would have been funner to see it go green. I mean, you had Suarez making ground. Like, I don't think he would have caught up, but it was still, fun to see where it would all have shook out. But I mean, we've had a lot worse short track races. So, I mean, overall, I was happy with the product out.
Right on. On my drive home last night, I got to listen to a lot of podcasts because it was 14 hours in all. My wife decided to go to sleep, but a lot of the guys are saying that they'd rather just run the red tires at a short track and
honestly,
not even worry
that's
about
like
the yellow. Yeah,
I like that too because I mean, you got guys that take care of their equipment that benefits someone like Truex if he's got an engine in his car. Guys like Denny Hamlin, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's
sure.
what I'd like to see. I mean, which sounds crazy because then you're pitting a lot more and you're leaving so much up to your pit crew, which is usually the opposite of my takes with Martin Truex Jr. But it definitely would make for a funner product out on the track.
I will say, in positive news for Martin, if he does race part-time with 2311 next year, I don't see their engines blowing up. So just saying.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Heard
JGR
it here first. Truex 2025 Daytona champ.
Never won a super speedway race, but on a part-time schedule, he pulls it off.
Hey, he did an Xfinity.
Yeah, true enough.
All right.
I feel like we've been on the same page on everything so far.
I know, right?
I'm
Like
sure
who
we'll
wrote
get
these
there.
questions out?
Yeah, it could change.
Yeah, maybe not in this one. So the biggest story of the week is obviously Austin Dillon wins in a controversial fashion at Richmond and initially punched his ticket to the playoffs before penalties today took it away, I guess, on Wednesday, which is today. The controversy stemmed from his on-track actions as he was nearly guaranteed the win before the only yellow flag not for a stage break came out with only 2 laps to go. On the final restart, he was beaten to the exit of 2 by Joey Logano. They would take the white flag and come around one more time before Austin made a very aggressive move to close that gap that would result in Joey spinning and backing into the wall. As Austin worked by the 22 car that was spinning above him, Denny Hamlin would gain the lead before he and Austin made contact, resulting in the 11 car also being wrecked and Dillon going on to claim the victory. Do you feel the contact with Denny was intentional, and was this a fair move to get the win? Give her, Donnie.
Yes, no. Like when you're driving and you right hook someone and you're not your crew chief, but your spotter is going, wreck them, wreck them, wreck them. Yeah, I'm going to say that's probably intentional. I'm leaning towards that way. The guy's chicken, we've already heard it said. Like,
hey, we don't want to get a fine here. Just be careful.
yeah, that's true. But man, like absolute garbage move. No, it's not okay. It's never been okay. It never will be okay. Like, what was the kid thinking? Like honestly, it was just like I think you got to call it the Hail Dillon. He had the Hail Melon, but at least Ross put it on the wall and gave her. Friggin', he just
Use
goes,
Joey
"Oh,
as a wall."
yeah, there's Logano. I'll put my car into him and see where I get." And then, oh no, I'm going to finish second. So wreck him. Right hook Denny into a wall, and then listen to how your pawpaw's proud. Like, come on, give your head a shake.
It wasn't Paw Paw, it was Pop Pop.
Pop.
I don't care what
And
it
you
was.
can't believe everything you hear on the internet,
Here's my issue with it, okay? And let me get my whole point out before, because I know you're gonna want to refute me, Donnie. But so here's why I don't.
I got to stop you there, man. No,
Kanye, stop it, Kanye.
I'm gonna let you finish. But
but Dillon had one of the best races of all time.
no,
So here's my issue with the penalty. First of all, if we want to talk about the Joey Logano incident, okay, the bump and run has always been legal. Okay, now I realize that this particularly was quite egregious, but the problem here
the nuke and juke.
No, but how far back can you do the bump and run from? Right? There's no clear definition of that. like, yes, we know this is egregious, but it's a gray area between what's good and what's not, right? There's no easy way to define that. Then when we get to the Denny Hamlin incident, okay, this is my big beef because I feel like the Denny Hamlin is actually the issue that they're really taking issue with. If not, then they're setting a completely different incident than the past when we saw Denny do it to Chase Elliott, when we saw Joey Logano do it to Martin Truex at Martinsville, and Matt Kenseth at Chicagoland. And anyway, long story, and William Byron at Darlington. The precedent here has been the right hook has resulted in a one race suspension, right? We saw it with Chase Elliott last year. We saw it with Bubba Wallace the year before. Okay. So if you have proof, which I assume that's what they're basing this penalty on, that it was intentional, right? Okay. So if it was an intentional right rear hook, he should be suspended one race. Okay. Which I'm okay with if you have the proof that it's intentional. My other issue is Chase Elliott didn't lose his playoff eligibility for it, right? Chase Elliott was still eligible after that.
But it's Chase Elliott too.
Doesn't matter. The penalty should
Chase
match.
do it on a win?
It does.
What?
Did Chase do it to win the only race?
I think that's less egregious. Like I think that's a bigger deal. In this playoff format, I think going for the win makes it way more justifiable than just, oh, he put me in the wall.
That's a stupid take. I mean, like, that's
I don't
dumb,
think so.
man. So you're saying, look, if you're angry at a guy, don't right hook him. I'm going to suspend you. You're completely wrong. But if you're going for a win, drive through whoever's in front of you and right hook a guy into the wall to get the win. That's okay.
I'm saying the penalty should be the same either way. But I'm saying Chase Elliott did it for a lot less reason. Austin Dillon did this because, first of all, it was a race win, and second of all, that race win would lock him into the playoffs, theoretically. Okay. Chase Elliott did it because Denny ran him a little rough. And he did it on a 1.5 mile track at much higher speeds, and Denny actually hit at a much higher angle. Right?
Here's the thing, though. Like, if Austin Dillon wins Daytona, he's back in the playoffs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't you're out, like, for good.
No, I understand.
So why would you kick Chase Elliott out of the playoffs? Like, it's not the same situation because Austin did it to win a race. Like, that's what they're saying. Hey, you won, but we're not letting you in the playoffs because it was complete BS. Right. If he finished second, they're not taking second place away from him.
Right. But then take away the win. It's pointless otherwise.
So then take away Denny's win for jumping the restart against Truex.
I 100% agree with that because Logano also jumped the restart, for the record.
Yeah, but
it wasn't as egregious, but it happened. I'm just saying the penalty needs to be way more consistent than it is in this case.
But this isn't this is a one-off thing. Like, this has not happened where NASCAR has to look at a finish and take it back, like on something like, as big as a left hook or right hook. Like, nobody's getting suspended for jumping restarts. You know what I mean? And I honestly, I know Truex got screwed over and I hate it, but I don't want NASCAR stepping in all the time. Like, either take a consistent stand or stay out of it and then let these guys realize, okay, I'm going to start jumping. Either call it or don't call it, but be consistent on that. But right hooking somebody for a win, that's...
But there's my issue. It shouldn't matter if it's for a win or not. A right hook should be a suspension if you have the proof. If you don't have the proof, then it shouldn't be anything.
Okay, I agree with you. You should be suspended.
That's all I'm saying. I will concede that
he should lose the...
I will concede that you're right. This is a different situation on the win basis, but the right hook itself, which is what I believe the penalty is actually for, because NASCAR is very quickly turning into an entertainment spectacle more so than a racing series in ways. Like they do very well do that. That's the reason we have playoffs. That's the reason we have stage breaks. All of that is true, right? So I think from an entertainment perspective, the bump and run or the dump and run, whatever you call it, would have been fine had it not been coupled with the right hook. So if you've got the proof that he right hooked him intentionally, which I believe they probably do based on what I've seen, then suspend him the race.
Wreck him.
suspend him for the race.
Yeah,
And I also
I agree.
Now,
I think they should have done everything they've done, plus give him a week off.
Now, I also don't think that a driver should be held responsible for his spotter's words. I like.
No, but if you listen to them,
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? A spotter's got 3 weeks off to think about it.
yeah,
So, I mean, that's the
I
right
know.
call. And Austin should have a week off. Like, that's honestly, I think they got off light.
I honestly think the penalty appeal process could be interesting on this one.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't match precedent set previously, right? So the appeals board has the right to enact previous precedent, which would be very interesting if they're like, no, he's still playoff eligible, but he's suspended or something along that line. That would be very interesting. Or they could wipe it completely away too. They have the ability to do that. I think the appeals process will be something very interesting to watch on this one.
So, do you guys think he deserves the win, or should that have been taken away from him?
I think it doesn't matter. Without the playoff berth, who cares?
Still a win, though.
Yeah, but who cares? You think anyone's going to look back in the record book and go, "Oh, Austin Dillon's got 5 wins," and the person beside him's not going to go, "Yeah, but you remember that Richmond incident, man? He didn't win that race. It didn't count." Right? Like,
and then you remember Daytona when he wrecked Almirola? Yeah. I mean, you can go down the list on Austin Dillon wins.
Sure.
Sure,
but you could do it on other guys too.
Oh yeah.
Denny Hamlin's got at least 4 he took Kyle Larson out of the running for. I'm not wrong.
No, in his defense though, he probably just thought it was debris on the track and just pushed it out of the way.
Right.
All right. Anything else to add, or
not on that one?
We're all good. All right. So our final topic before we head into the caution break stems from this very same incident. Joey Logano, obviously very upset with the end of the race, proceeds down pit road and drives rather aggressively towards the number 3 car's pit box where team, family, and friends are celebrating, before proceeding to a burnout near the same individuals. Obviously, this was heavily influenced by what happened on the track, but do you feel this was more or less warranted by what Austin did, or was this absolutely wrong?
What do you go ahead, Don?
Yeah. I think it's stupid that he got fined $50,000 for it, if I'm being honest. Like,
you think so?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I thought he got off easy, personally.
I thought he got off very easy.
Like $50,000. What's $50,000 to Joey Logano? Absolutely nothing.
A tax benefit charity donation is.
Let me defend myself here. So Bubba Wallace bumps into Alex Bowman in Chicago because he's upset with him. Gets fined $50,000. That's out on the track. Nobody else is around. Sure, Bowman's undoing his belt. Joey Logano goes and gets sideways in front of a bunch of women with kids who look like they're running for their lives. And we're going to fine him $50,000, the same we did for Bubba. It's absolutely garbage. Like, this guy should be fined $250,000 minimum. Should be looking at a week, at least
I didn't know where you're
suspension.
going with that. I thought you were.
Yeah, no, like $50,000. Like, that's all he's going to get fined.
Ridiculous.
Like, honestly, like, if someone's going to get suspended, like, to me, that's more dangerous than, not more dangerous, but just as dangerous as right hooking somebody into the wall. Like, you got innocent people standing around. You know, you got drivers coming in, cooling down that are exhausted, and you're going to, I usually stick up for Joey, but that, and you're a 2-time champion, you know what I mean? Like, I know there's 36, 37 cars out there, but you're held to a higher standard. You're one of, the top in the sport. Like, there's no room for that. And I can't believe he got off as easy as what he did.
The other thing too, like, to make it even worse, his car was broke. So he has less, like, he was sideways the whole way back into the pits. He has less control of his car because it's less predictable than he normally would, right?
Yeah.
My philosophy on this is I don't know what the proper penalty is necessarily, but on pit road activity after the race has to stop. And what I mean by that is from the commitment line to the very last line where they exit pit road and get back up to race speed has to be an absolute zero tolerance policy when it comes to how the drivers drive in that area. And I would go so far as to say, like, stopping in someone else's pit box is the exact same thing. It needs to be zero tolerance from one end to the other. There are people there that are not protected. And even those that are protected literally have on helmets and knee pads, right? Like, like it's not like they're safe by any stretch. So I am blown away that it's $50,000. And the reality with these is he's going to get a tax credit for his donation to the Betty Jean France or whoever it is charity, because that's where the penalties go. So he's going to get a tax credit for 50 grand at the end of the year. You know what I mean? Chances are he's going to donate 50 grand at some point during the year anyway for the tax benefits. So this just makes it easy for him. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. And he is the only one responsible for this. I don't think a team penalty or anything like that is appropriate, but I think a driver points penalty definitely is.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, this should hurt a lot more than, like, it doesn't hurt at all.
No.
Like, and I'm like, honestly, like, go park your car, get out of your car, and at least someone's going to see, you know, the 6'3" pylon walking towards them and think, okay, let's back up and let these guys hash things out. And you want to throw punches or act tough, then go for it. But Joey Logano's not going to kill anybody with his hands. You know what I mean? I'd take a punch from Joey for free tickets at the track on Sunday. But you hit somebody with a car, it's a different story. Like, just garbage.
Yeah, it's.
And I get, like, I'd be mad too. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to be angry or frustrated. Like, I get it. Like, I totally get that. But place and time, stay out on the track, even. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, go burn out beside him
and that's what I thought was coming.
Like, yeah.
I thought he was gonna get up to the car. Like, I really did. I thought that was the direction he was going. And because he was out beside everybody, and then he kind of came into pit road and went to the other side of everybody. And, you know, truthfully, I think going up there and showing his frustration with Austin Dillon in that moment would have been fairly well warranted. But yeah, this was
look at Truex, what he did in Richmond in the spring. You know what I mean? He was mad at Larson.
Yeah,
they were roughing each other up, and then he goes and he smacks Denny 3 times in the rear, and then dips off to pit road, and that's that.
Still in the cars, folks. Just to be clear,
you know what I mean? Yeah, like, do that. You know what I mean? You can show you're angry, and then go hash it out. Like, go punch the guy at least. You know what I mean?
I will say I like your analogy of the Bubba Wallace situation, because it is a huge slap in the face to that.
Yeah. Like,
you can't tell me that it's more dangerous to hit a car of a guy who's in a roll cage and everything. Like, it's definitely not.
No.
You know, and I was angry about that, and I still do think that, like, I still think the 50 grand was warranted. But that's why this is such a slap in the face, is because it warrants so much more.
Yeah. I mean, Bowman knows, like, oh, here's the 23 in my mirror. This might end up a little rough.
Yeah.
Like, no one's expecting that. No one with a kid standing on a racetrack is expecting a madman to come up.
You've seen them on TV jumping back away from the car. Right? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like,
absolutely absurd.
Anyways,
speaking of absurd, no, go ahead, Corey. What do you got?
I was just saying, to me, it seems like the line is still invisible. You guys say?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't think NASCAR solved anything. Like, it's just crazy, but
no.
And there's no way you can police the bump and run without it being all or nothing. That's the reality, right? Like, what are you going to say? Oh, we measured, you were 3 car lengths back. That's too far.
Yeah, but I mean, but Austin was like 3 turns back.
But it doesn't matter. There's no limit on the bump and run. That's the reality, right?
I'm like, if you can't make that turn at the speed you're doing, and you literally use your guy as a wall, like, no, that one's a pretty much, like, if you want to call it black and white, like, that's an easy one. Like, I get there being a gray area. There's no gray in that.
Yeah.
No. Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is a lot of stuff in between there is. That's the problem, right?
I'm just like, here's the thing. Like, you know what? We'll end it with this. It sucks for Dylan. The kid had the fastest car. He was doing great. And then you got friggin' Priest and Stenhouse doing what they do and screw things up with 2 laps to go, fighting for 25th place. You know what I mean? Austin Dillon had that race won. Yeah. But guess what? If you want to go in the playoffs, if you want to get in the playoffs and you want to race against the big boys, know what lane to pick and know how to restart. You didn't do it. You know what I mean? You didn't have it when you needed it. And that's the That's how it goes. So tough luck. You don't get to plow through guys and throw people into the wall because
You can't
you
jersey
suck and you
start.
can't win.
Well, be careful. We haven't heard the appeal yet. That might change.
Oh man,
We'll find
that'll
out.
be
I
a fun
guess.
episode if it does.
All right. Speaking of some crazy things, Donnie and I were fortunate enough. We actually recorded this earlier in the week, but we were fortunate enough to sit down with Ben Rhodes to talk about the upcoming race at Speedway.
Not
60.
sure that's the best way to introduce the guests, man. Speaking
Why?
of crazy, we sat down with Ben Rhodes.
Hang on. In February, when we started doing season 3, would you say this was expected?
No, we
Okay, I
totally
just want
made
to
fun
say
of you.
it was crazy for us, not that Ben
Yeah.
Rhodes is crazy. I'm just making that point.
Sure. No, I'm 100%
All right.
okay with that. But
Just
nonetheless,
want the listeners to know.
got a chance to sit down with Ben Rhodes, and super grateful for that. We'll jump right into the caution break segment and let you hear what we talked about.
Hope you guys didn't screw it up without me.
We didn't. Well, guys, welcome to the caution break segment of the Before the Green podcast. We are very excited to have Ben Rhodes on with us. It's quite a privilege and an honor. So this is exciting for Donnie and I, and we've got quite a bit to talk about. But Donnie, I'll let you kick off the actual segment.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, pretty much every listener that listens to this knows who Ben Rhodes is. 2-time NASCAR Truck Series champion, reigning defending NASCAR Truck Series champion. So we know what you are on the track. Maybe tell us a little bit about Ben Rhodes off the track.
Well, funny you asked that. The main reason we're doing this podcast so late tonight is because I've got 202 at home. So my boy is going to turn 2 here in a couple weeks, and then I've got a daughter who's 5 months. So when I'm off the track, my life is just consumed with kids and family life. But I live in like the Louisville, Kentucky region. So, home of the bourbon, the Louisville Slugger baseball bats, and the Kentucky Derby. That's kind of what we're known for. Apart from that, it's kind of a agricultural state. So I travel from there up to Sandusky, Ohio, where the race team's at, and then North Carolina is where our simulator and then a bunch of the support structures that we have for racing are located there. So a lot of traveling for me, but that's just part of it.
That's awesome.
Just out of curiosity, since most people who are race fans are somewhat car guys, what do you do all that traveling in?
So, Ford Ford Motor Company's been an amazing partner to us. Thankfully, they've provided these loaner vehicles to the race team that we can get around in because we're located. Well, the team's located in Ohio, which is the only team in NASCAR really that's not located down there. So I drive a Expedition, which is great because I think. My teammate Majeski hit a record, they said, at like 50-something thousand miles, and I wasn't far behind. I was like 49,000 miles in like 9 months. So we burn up the miles going to racetracks.
That's a lot of miles, man.
It's okay. Some people get more than that, but it's an honest day's work in 8 or 9 months.
Yeah. And they don't tick off quite as fast as they do on Friday nights, eh?
No, they don't. But that's okay. I put it on cruise, and I keep myself out of trouble.
Yeah, I do the same thing. 10 over, set it on cruise.
Oh boy, well you're talking kilometers, man. We got mile per hour down here.
Yeah. Which I guess 10 miles would be, if my conversion's right, about 16 kilometers an hour difference. So
yeah,
might get in trouble for that up here, but
yeah. If you're under 9, you're doing fine.
okay.
If you're over 10 or over 9, you're what did they say? There's some sort of saying that goes with that. You're doing time. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Going to 9.
Well, listen, speaking of kilometers, you're going to be arriving here in New Brunswick on Labor Day weekend to participate in the Yard Gear 250 on September the 1st. Of course, that's at Speedway 660 in Geary, New Brunswick. And obviously that's a big part of the reason why we're doing this tonight, obviously to bring some attention to that and hopefully get some excitement built up for the race. So this is a huge weekend for the Speedway, obviously, as it's our biggest race of the year. But how did your involvement in that race come about?
So it actually starts out with a friend of mine named Keith Lord, who's a mutual friend to Brent Roy from the track. Keith has spotted for me now at pretty much all the standalone events that I have. So if we go to like Gateway and my main spotter can't be there, or Coda, or I don't know, just name a track where we go and Cup isn't there, then I usually always try to have Keith join me, excuse me. And when Keith goes, we just talk about all kinds of stuff. He said, "Hey, I've got a buddy all the way up in Canada, someplace you may not have heard of, but it's a really awesome racetrack. I've been there. Brent, his buddy's a really good guy. Do you mind if I give his number to you and he can reach out?" And I did that. I said, "Yeah, sure." Brent reaches out to me, and we've talked for a little bit, and then just kind of became like good. I haven't met him yet, but like good acquaintances. We've talked a lot on the phone, right? And he kind of brought everything together and said, "Hey, if you can get up here, I think I've got a team that can put you in the car." So I don't know, pretty excited, right? Like I haven't gone late model racing in a while, so this will be a fun for me. I haven't been able to do something outside of NASCAR trucks in quite some time.
Yeah. And fun's the whole name of the game, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about this off camera, but you're bringing Rich Luscious with you. So that's your crew chief from last year that you've won championship with, and I believe he was in 2021 as well.
That's right. Yeah. So Rich isn't my crew chief now, but he started out as my crew chief at the beginning of this year, and we worked together for both the championships. But obviously through those championships, we become really good friends, and he's got a lot of late model experience. The last time I drove a late model was 2013. So it's been a long time.
Okay.
He's raced them a lot since then. I said, "Hey, if you've got the time, could you come up to this track with me and crew chief the deal, or just be there and give me advice?" And it helps to have a friend, right? Like, I don't know.
For sure.
I think that's an advantage for him to come with me.
Yeah. Are you bringing anybody else from your team with you?
So actually Keith's going to come. Keith's going to be my spotter. So I said, if Keith, you organize this whole thing, it's only fair that you be there and be the spotter. For
sure.
Try the local cuisine.
Yeah. Oh, what's the local cuisine? What's that?
Poutine, fish and chips.
All right. I'll give it a try.
I guess would probably be donair, actually, is like an East Coast tradition that you probably have never had.
Never.
If you've okay. You do deserve to try some donair. That is
okay.
Yeah. Not that Donnie and I are experts on food, but
that sounds French. Is that like a French cuisine?
Poutine is, or poutine.
But donair just kind of Halifax started. It's more like Middle Eastern. It's kind of like a gyro or gyro. Okay. But it's better. Don't leave Canada without trying it.
I'll take your word for it, I guess, or I'll find out soon.
As long as you're not on a strict playoff regimen, you owe it to yourself to try that.
I'll do that.
I've actually been dying to ask you this, as I've been pretty invested in iRacing for the past 2 years. So the go-to for most people for preparing for races, and you've already mentioned the simulator, actually. The glaring issue here is that Speedway 660 is in no way, shape, or form on the sim, which, if you got contacts with iRacing, I'm sure there'd be a very happy fan base to get that stand. But how do you prepare for a track that you've never raced on, and, in a car that you haven't raced in quite some time, apparently?
Yeah, well, number one, I don't have any contacts at iRacing, or I'd hook you guys up. I think that's a Dale Jr. problem. He was the one that brought North Wilkesboro back to life.
Yeah. He's our guest next week.
Is he? There you go. So, no, that's a tough question, right? Like I'm kind of old school. I actually hate simulators. I hate all that stuff because, and the reason why is because the whole sport has kind of shifted from like real on-track time that, old school drivers used to have, to now we get 15 minutes of practice. They say, go run on a simulator. And everybody knows that, we do everything we can to get the simulators as close to real life, but there's just certain things they can't do. Right. They're going to try their best to give you wheel lock up and wheel spin, but you don't get that feel in the seat of your pants like you should. You don't, get a lot of the things that come through the sim that you get in real life. The sim is a lot of visual cues, not so much, in your hands and your feet and your, whole body stuff. So, and then along with that, we have to make the simulator accurate and compare to real life. You know, if you feel a certain way on the racetrack, you've got to make the sim feel that same way. And that's really, really hard. And I was reading an article the other day about how Red Bull F1 team with, you know, unbelievable budget, like more than some nations, it seems, can't get their simulator to work and correlate to real life. So that's a hard job, and it takes a lot of our time. I'd rather just load the trucks and the transporter and head down the road to the racetrack and run for a few days. But those seems like those days are long gone.
Yeah.
At least for the time being. Hopefully,
Right. Yeah.
you know, even from a fan perspective, watching, you know, any on track time that's available is a good thing for us, right? It's more value for our time and more value for our money as well, right? As a fan. So
Right.
I get
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of like loading the trucks up and just hitting the racetracks, obviously racing isn't a cheap sport and you need sponsors along the way to, you know, make this happen. So this is quite a trip to make. And I'm just wondering, is there any sponsors you want to give a shout out to while we have you on here?
Not particularly. If on my
No?
side, the big thank you just comes from Brett Roy, and his whole team there at Speedway 660. I mean, they were the organizers not only for the event, but organizing with me to help me find a way to get up there and ultimately put the team together so that I could race. You know, I don't have any
That's awesome.
contacts in the area, so that would have been a
Yeah.
really hard thing for me to do myself. Just, you know, meeting random people or whatever, right, to try to make that happen. I don't think that would have came together without Brett. So, you know, I'm just very, very thankful for him and his whole team there at Speedway 660.
Man, that's awesome. I didn't realize it was all kind of that unfocused. So that like
Yeah.
it really goes to show how passionate they are about racing here, like, and how exciting it is for someone like you and caliber racer you are to come down here. We're just stoked for it. So
Well, thanks, man. I got to give a prop to you guys up there, though. I mean, you know, not only the track and everybody at the track, but seems like Canadians as a whole have a lot of passion for racing that we don't really see as much. I don't see as much in America, the United States. Not that you guys aren't in America, in the United States. I don't see that as much. You know, but when we go to Canada, like I really sincerely missed racing at Mossport. That was probably one of my favorite tracks, if not my most favorite track. And the people that would turn out to that event, it was just crazy. There was such a crowd, and everybody was so passionate about it. So I really miss racing with you guys up north, and this is going to be a really fun time for me because I've missed it.
And
That's
truthfully, we're pretty starved for like outside of your local short tracks, which is kind of, you know, where the racing scene here thrives, right? We don't have any real major national circuits because our nation is so widely spread out and very rural outside of the urban centers. It makes it hard to do that to a degree. But when you guys show up, we will definitely be, you know, ready to jump on and support. And there's been some rumors NASCAR is coming back to Canada next year or two, so we're hoping for that. I know there's lots of people hoping they go south of the other border too, but we're hoping for north.
I'm hoping for north as well. Yeah, you guys are close to our race shop, and you know, it's one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah.
Any chance you got a schedule that we haven't seen yet?
I know. Well, it's funny. Everybody's going off of that schedule that was leaked on Twitter or X a week or two ago. So that's all I know right now.
Yeah.
No inside information, Donnie. Man, we're trying. No, I'm just kidding. Let's move into your day-to-day career as NASCAR Truck Series driver. We'll come back to Speedway 660 near the end, of course, as well. But obviously, you were able to win the championship last year, which is your second in 3 years. A very stout record there for the last couple years. And that jumpstarted a sweep of the championship weekend for Ford, which I'm sure Ford was very excited about. How do you feel about your title defense currently, now that you're locked into the playoffs? I waited to finalize that question. I hope you know this until after Saturday night. I said, I'm not going to be the guy that jinxes this. And is there a particular track coming up that you think is a great opportunity for you guys to move into that next round?
Yeah. Well, multifaceted question there, multifaceted answer. I feel good about our opportunity going into the next round. The way the playoffs are structured and what we've done in the past is if you can run top tens, you can usually get into the next round. The trick for us, though, is it's just been this season. It's been unloading, kind of inconsistent. Our speed's been kind of here, there, everywhere, coming off the transporter. And with only 15 minutes of practice, you really don't have time to develop anything, to work on anything, to fix anything that isn't, perfect when you unload. So it's been kind of a weird season for us in that regard. We're having trouble trying to develop a new package without the actual time to do that. So a lot of time spent on just engineering and the backside of stuff. But my favorite track in the playoffs, honestly, or I shouldn't say my favorite, but the track that I really enjoyed going to in the playoffs is Talladega. A lot of people say, why would you like that? How much stress that is? So much is out of your control. But actually, there is a great bit that is still in your control at Talladega. There's a lot that's still in your control. Now, ultimately, when the wreck happens, yeah, it couldn't be out of your control. You can be caught up, and it is what it is. But that's a wild card race, and I find it makes a lot of people really anxious and usually make mistakes or weird moves. And I like that. So over the years, that Talladega race has been something that's really given us a lot of points and afforded us to move into the next round.
Yeah, I will say there's no, people talk about how much luck there is involved with Talladega, and I do think there's, a degree of luck as far as, missing wrecks and things like that. But there's not a lucky winner that gets to the end at Talladega and pulls it off or anything like that. So I see that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to get a driver's perspective on this too. So Saturday night, you were sitting pretty good in points, looking to lock in there. Are you thinking about winning that race all night, or does there come a point where it's just keep my equipment clean, stay out of trouble, and just rely on the points? Like, what kind of goes through your mindset Saturday?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to win it, right? Like, especially when we got up to second and started racing with Grant and Finger for the lead. I really wanted to win it, but we got to a point where we were, 24 points ahead of the 43 trucks. So, yeah, I mean, at that point, I told the guys on the radio, I think my quote was, yeah, basically, we don't need a wreck here. So if I've got to finish 15th or 20th just to finish the race, just to advance, then that's what I got to do. The big thing is don't make a stupid move trying to get the lead and then finish, let's say, 28th, right, or 29th at the end of the night, and then the guy that I'm trying to beat finished a second, and now you're out of the playoffs because you did something stupid. That'd be really bad, right? Short-sighted. So the biggest thing for me is what takes precedent once we get to the playoffs here is big picture racing, and it will for the rest of the season now.
And I
That's
think
awesome.
that plays a big part into, this next topic that I want to bring up. You've built yourself a solid reputation as a very veteran driver in the truck series. The last 3 seasons are obviously indicative of that. Do you find new drivers come into the truck series that they tend to look at a guy like you as a mentor, or perhaps too, you could even mention, like when you came in the truck series, who'd you see as a mentor or something like that? But do you find you're kind of in that veteran phase with newcomers as well as fans?
I find that I'm in that phase with myself, but not really with other people. I do the rookie meeting every week. 30 minutes after garage opens, you'll find me in the series hauler and doing the rookie meeting. But really, in now modern NASCAR, they don't actually have to show up. They can call in. And back when I started, you had to be there. And so when I had those rookie meetings, whoever was doing them that week, whether it be Crafton or Johnny Sod or Todd Bodine or whoever, you had the opportunity to ask questions in person. These guys don't show up and they call in, and even if they did, I don't know if they had questions. I really don't get a lot though. I don't get much. I'll kind of just go in, do my thing, and nobody's really ever reached out. I have had some rookies or younger drivers reach out and, either like apologize or thank me for something on the track, just open up some sort of dialogue, and then it'll start that way, but it's never really advice. It's more or less just friendly discussion, I guess.
Right on.
Makes sense.
So have you been a fan? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just didn't realize that, you guys hosted the, first of all, I didn't know there was a rookie meeting, but I would have assumed it was a NASCAR official that would host that or something. I didn't realize that fell to the drivers.
Well, it is NASCAR that hosts it, but then the privilege of being the driver that gives, advice for that track that falls on the prior year's champion. So whoever the defending champion is, that privilege of speaking to the rookies goes to that previous champion.
So this is your second year doing it then?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. That's a cool privilege. I never would have known that had we not talked to you. That's yeah.
Well, thanks.
So did you grow up like a NASCAR fan? Like, did you have a favorite driver as a kid growing up? And if so, who was that?
Yeah, I did. I was a NASCAR fan as a kid. I mean, I played all the video games. I collected all the diecast. I had all the stuff. I actually grew up pulling for Jeff Gordon because my uncle was his engine builder in sprint cars, and Jeff used to live. He lived with my uncle back when he was like really young, getting into the sprint car scene, and they raced together. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, it would have been my cousin that was Jeff Gordon's best man in his wedding, like way back in the day. And because all of that, they would tell me stories about them sprint car racing that made me automatically a fan of Jeff Gordon, right? So
Yeah, that's
that's how that
awesome.
started. Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's awesome. Kind of piggyback off that question too. Is there anyone right now in the series that you really like racing against or look up to, or even like a rival that you brings the best out in you, kind of thing?
So that's a very well-intentioned question, and my answer is no. I can do a lot better job of telling you who I don't like racing against than who I can. Um, I take that back. You know who I really like racing against is actually Raja Cruz. Um, and a lot of people might find that surprising simply because he's a rookie, right? He's not a veteran that's been in for a while. But Raja at Pocono made some of the smartest moves on the track and was working with me just out of his own like free will, just like was doing it, like pushing me down the straightaway lap after lap after lap, even though he had a faster truck because I don't know if he had coaching or maybe his spotter was in his ear telling him, or he's just got that racing IQ where he would push me down the track. And then this past week at Richmond, when I was going to pass him, usually, I mean, I would be racing against Finger. I'd be racing against who's the other guy, Corey Heim. It didn't really matter who I was racing against. They would all throw these insane blocks on you. And when I had a move on Raja, he actually gave me the space. And so he's raced me with a lot of respect this year. And, I reached out to him and told him that I think he's raced smarter than anybody I've seen in quite some time.
That's awesome too, especially for a rookie. Like it kind of, gives hope that some of these young guys coming up are gonna
Yeah. Well,
keep to
honestly,
the unwritten rules.
I'll say the same thing with Daniel Dye, actually. He's another rookie. He reached out to me thanking me for something I didn't even remember happening at Vegas. And then since then, we've kind of kept a little bit of a dialogue open, and he's raced me super respectful and clean. And yeah, it gives a lot of hope for the rookies. I mean, I get some of the rougher racing from veterans sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually, I was speaking of Daniel Dye, not to give too much praise to someone other than the gentleman we're very happy to have with us. But I was so impressed on Saturday night with, I believe Fox actually said he was the first driver to ever point his way in a cutoff race to make the playoffs. And for a guy of that age, that's a very stout record to hold. And that's not a bad thing when like Donnie says, everyone always talks about how almost lawless the NASCAR Truck Series is, right? Where it can be a little rough and aggressive and whatnot. And it was super cool to see that. And
Yeah, they
it wasn't
say that about the Truck Series, right? And that's been a discussion all year long. We had a bad race at Daytona, and all the Cup drivers jump on Twitter to bash the Truck Series drivers. But then we see what happens at Richmond, right? Or they literally wreck the entire field at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series, and nobody bashes the Xfinity Series or the Cup guys. They just want to bash the trucks. I'm like, have you looked in the mirror lately?
Yeah, and I will say, like, if you look at like Richmond was a great example, absolutely. But even was it Gateway where they were all running out of fuel, and instead of like everyone was just running over everybody, hoping they were going to be the leader at when the caution came out after the white flag, and everyone can say a lot of things, but it all gets learned from the top, right? That's the reality, in my opinion. Might be a little more brazen with it in the Truck Series, not as good at hiding it, but it's learned from somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what's next for Ben Rhodes? I read a quote from you after last season's championship saying that you're happy in the truck series, happy with Thor Sport, sorry. So I won't pry too much as far as like your future racing opportunities and your goals that way. But what are you building towards in the broader picture of life? For example, we always see your post-race interviews. Your championship interviews have been must-watch TV for the last couple years. Is there a chance we, see you in the booth at some point or something along those lines? I know obviously that relies a bit on opportunities, but
Yeah, that's really it, right? Is it all comes down to opportunities. The sport's pretty tough to crack into these days. I remember back when I was in the NASCAR Next program, it was probably 2000 and, I don't know, 14 maybe. They had Jimmy Johnson come in and talk to just a room of these young drivers, saying, giving advice. And at the end, one of the drivers said, what advice do you have to us young guys to open up a door and get an opportunity at these places? And he really didn't have any advice to give. He said, man, I feel bad for you guys. I came in at a very lucky time when the sport was just absolutely booming, and there was a lot of car owners and a lot of sponsors. And it's very rare to find car owners and sponsors these days, especially ones that have the funding lined up that are looking for the talent. So I don't know, different times for sure. So opportunities, what it's all about in NASCAR now is finding the right opportunity. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at though at ThorSport. I've been here for a long time. I've said it before, Duke and Rhonda Thorson that own ThorSport Racing have become like family to me. I go up there every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, sometimes once in 3 weeks, but I try to space it out. And when I am there, I mean, I get dinner with them every night. We have breakfast every morning. I'm at the shop all day, and my days are pretty regimented, and it's I don't know, it's familiar, and I really love the people I'm with. It really has become like a family. It doesn't mean that I don't have interest and like maybe it'd be really cool to run IndyCar, it'd be cool to do this or do that, but ultimately, I'm running for truck championships, and I absolutely love it. When I first looked to do NASCAR, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to race NASCAR since I was a little kid, but my very first race was a truck race. And I told myself if I could race, professionally one day in NASCAR, if I could race NASCAR and be a NASCAR driver, that was my goal. And that's what I'm doing, right? I'm racing in NASCAR. It's my job. I wake up every morning. I get to say, hey, you've made it in that sense that I'm providing for my family and racing for a living. That's crazy to me, right? So very fortunate, very happy, and thankful for the opportunities I definitely have been given, and I don't really look over here like grass is green or anything like that. I mean, we've got some championships and we're happy for it.
Well, and
Great. It's awesome.
not to I know Donnie's probably gonna head a certain direction here, but you look at the list of great drivers that have made careers in the truck series, like the Jack Spraggs, the Ron Hornadays, the Matt Craftons, Brendan Gaughan's. There's lots of guys that have had a great career in truck series. Some of them have even made NASCAR's top 75 greatest drivers, right? Like it's a huge accomplishment. And to be honest, if you're competing for championships, why would you want to ever go somewhere else? So I get that. That's a cool perspective.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Kind of a question that we didn't have written down there, but maybe you can give some insight on. So I was to my first NASCAR race this year with me and my dad went down to the Daytona 500 and watched all the series run and stuff like that. I had the pit passes, like got to see some stuff. Is there a track where you think like has the best fan experience, like as far as getting to know the drivers or getting to see them? Because Daytona is kind of that whirlwind, you know what I mean? You guys are there and it's go, go, go. Like, is there a track that stands out to you that, might go under the radar?
Not really. I'm trying to think of something. Probably if you're able to get hot passes and get into the infield at a Bristol or a Martinsville, Martinsville for sure, you have a good chance of meeting drivers because it's all so close. Especially the truck garage, where in the past we didn't even have our haulers and the infield. So if you wanted to meet a driver, I mean, you just look around; they're right there around you. I don't really know though. I don't have a good answer to that. The only races I ever got to go to as fan was Kentucky Speedway. Apart from that, I've always been racing, and so I don't really have a very good answer to that perspective, I guess.
You don't go out autograph seeking while you're around?
Not really. Not really. Not really. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, when you're the top in your series, whose autograph could you be chasing, right? I mean,
Yeah, I guess so.
Taking selfies of yourself.
Hey.
I met B today.
I'm not so champ. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, kind of on that note too, meeting drivers. You're coming to Speedway 660. It's kind of a smaller track. Maybe some fans will run into you. Do you have anything set up there? You bringing any merch with you, or will you be doing any autograph sessions?
I'm waiting for the track to really work with me and tell me what they've got planned. They're meeting up. Sorry, they're setting up some meet and greets and some sponsor sessions and stuff, which I'm excited for. We shipped up some sheet metal up there, a tail, sheet metal and a tail, and then some hats, die cast, and shirts. So we do have some merch coming up. We've got. We got a few different things. I don't know what's planned yet. I guess stay tuned and they'll make the announcement soon.
Awesome.
So what you're saying is there's a chance I could add to this.
There's a chance. There is a chance. Yeah.
All right, Donnie, I need you to look in the budget for the podcast and see if there's enough there to spot me for.
Get some nice Kubota orange.
I like Kubota orange.
They'll stand out.
Oh yeah, well I stand out like a billboard anyway, brother. So actually I do have some notes from Speedway 660. So for those of you listening, we want you to be at the racetrack when Ben's there. We want you to be at the racetrack for the upcoming weeks between now and then. But for that weekend, drivers are going to draw for their starting position for the heat races on Sunday. Those heat races will then set the field for the 250 lap race Sunday evening. They are racing for the Yard Gear 250. They're racing the Pro Stock cars, or you might know them as the Pro Late models if you're from other regions. There is a concert on Friday night as well as racing all weekend, and there are still camping spots available for the weekend, and children under 15 can get into the track for free, as always. That's always the case. And for what it's worth, there will be an on-track autograph session on Sunday featuring all of the Pro Stock field. So that is something to look forward to. Regardless of who your favorite driver is, you are, as long as you're in the Pro Stock field, you're welcome to go there and hit them up for an autograph and a meet and greet and all that good stuff. So, Ben, the floor is kind of yours. Is there anything else that you want to say to the fans before we kind of end this segment? And
No, realistically, I think I kind of touched on it earlier. I'm just very thankful to come up there and race with you guys. I'm a big fan of the racetrack, even though I've not been there yet. But from what I've watched and working from everybody up in y'all's area, I think just you Canadians are so awesome to come up and hang out with. I loved my time at Mossport, and if this is anything like that, then I'm sure I'm gonna want to do this more often because I just love it. I love it so much.
Awesome. I just want to say too, again, like this podcast for us, this just started out as three friends just wanting to shoot the breeze about NASCAR every week. And I mean, this is our second year doing it. The fact that you came on, you talked to us, man, like it means a lot to us. And we really appreciate you taking the time. And that's what honestly is so great about not our sport, your sport, but
That's our sport.
us being fans. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what's so great about it is, you know what I mean? Like where else are you going to find athletes at the top of their class that are willing to do this? And it just hats off to you, man. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks guys. Well, it's people like you that ultimately keep the sport alive, right? Like we've got to have people that enjoy it enough and be passionate about it enough to have talk shows, right? And do all of that. So I'm grateful that you guys are doing what you do. You're good advocates for the sport for sure.
actually,
Awesome.
Before you joined, we were doing our After the Checkers segment, and with all the Richmond activity, it was more of an argue show than a talk show. But I think we've got it all padded out. We might even be friends when this is all said and done. Still, you just never know.
Well, they might call you and put you all in the tower, start making the shots. We'll see.
Hey,
There we go. Hey.
you never know. Actually, that's what we're doing at Speedway 660. We're taking over and
Perfect.
you're a
Hey,
shoe in, man. Don't worry
no
about it.
black flags for me, all right? No black flags.
Yeah.
Just blue and yellow for everybody else,
Yeah,
buddy.
that's it.
Well, listen, guys, for those of you joining us, we really appreciate you being here. I know a lot of you probably joined in just for the Ben Rhodes section, and I appreciate that. I know Donnie and Korey do as well. Corey's not here for this moment, but hope you'll stick around. We got picks coming up. We've got some playoff things going on, so stick around for Before the Green, and we'll wrap up with Ben, and you guys have a few moments to catch your breath. We'll see you in the next segment.
Oh, is it my thing?
Well, yeah.
Frig, man. Oh, I don't even have a pick. Martin Bluex Jr., I hate you.
Same as last week.
All right. Oh man, I'm sick and tired of hosting this side of the segment. It was fun last year when things were going great, but man, oh man. First time this year I'm in dead last, and
We're gonna keep
Martin
you there.
Truex Jr., or as you two informed me, Martin Bluex Jr. finished 37th, dead last also, which is just proof even the best fall down sometimes. So much
If
like
Marilee was
Martin,
here,
and
she would sing that for you.
she would. Thank goodness she isn't.
Yeah.
All right. So Christopher Bell finished 6th. Evan puts you 2nd place on the day. And Korey can't pick a winner. MacArthur got 2nd place again. With
It
Denny
wasn't for
Hamlin.
Dylan.
Yeah, always a bridesmaid.
It's all right.
All right.
Sounds
So
like
with
Denny's
that,
playoffs.
Point.
all right, with that, you're tied for first with Evan. And as I was saying, this leaves me dead last, point behind both of you. And we got Michigan coming up. I think you guys still got some drivers to choose from. Me, I'll be scraping the bottom of the barrel.
All right. Well, I guess I go first then. I am
gotta look
going
at my
with
list here.
what?
Donnie
I forgot all about this.
Oh,
Like I don't even know who I'm picking yet.
All right. I'm going Ryan Blaney.
I figured that's where you were going to go when I looked at my list today. Okay. I guess that means I get to pick next. I had my pick all selected, but I think I'm going to switch it up. I am actually going to run with Chase Briscoe.
I thought you already took Chase Briscoe.
He's not on my list.
If he did, he just forfeited a point.
I was sure you had Chase
I
Briscoe.
don't believe I did.
Okay.
Oh man, that would be great if he did.
Well, yeah, you could have an opportunity to catch.
Ooh. You like?
Are you looking?
I am looking, but you go ahead.
Korey, go look too.
All right, I'm
'cause
looking
he can
right
change
now.
it up on us.
Oh my goodness, you have
No,
no idea about how
he
much
didn't use
integrity
them.
I
He's
what?
Good. You didn't use them. You're good.
No, I thought you said he did. I'm like, no, I did not. I've been very, very diligent on this list, especially my side of it.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I was thinking I'd go Gregson, but I don't want to go teammate against teammate.
Why? We did last week. 1 against 1 against 1.
How'd that work out for me? All right. Let's go Todd Gilliland.
Ooh.
Good pick.
I think that's a decent pick. I thought about him earlier today. As a pick, not like.
Yeah.
I wonder what Todd's doing.
Todd.
Oh man. We're getting down to the final races, guys.
Man, after this,
Right.
there's only 2 races left.
Yep.
It's wild.
Then we can repick our guys. And
Then we can have good
top.
picks. Yeah. We'll be only picking playoff drivers, so we'll have Austin Dillon in there.
No, he's not a playoff driver anymore.
I bet he is after the appeal. I
Do you really
would-
think so?
I do.
You honestly think he gets back in?
I think he does. That's my guess. Yep.
All right. What do you think, Korey?
I mean, I haven't really thought about it, but no, I don't think they'll go back on that.
Yeah.
I bet they
No
do,
way.
but I bet they suspend him a race. That's my.
The only way he gets in is if Chase Elliott wins next week and they just try and slide it under that news.
Maybe.
Chase Elliott has won Michigan and Austin Dillon's back in the playoffs. Thank you for tuning in to NASCAR on NBC.
We'll see what happens, but my gut tells me. I'm not saying I agree with it, but my gut tells me that he'll be back in the playoffs.
Evan's Gut brought to you by Ozempic.
Obviously not. All right, Corey, why don't you take us out of here, my man? I think we're done for tonight.
I'm already done for the night, so you go ahead.
I did the intro. Don, you want to take outro?
All right, guys. So yeah, this has been a different episode. Again, thank you to Ben Rhodes. Thank you to everybody at Speedway 660 for making this all happen. And look forward to more content NASCAR related and also our local track even. So keep an eye out on us. Follow us on our social medias. Tune in each week as we continue to put out more content. And can't promise it's always going to be great, but hey, it's always going to be fun. So tune in and thanks for listening, guys.